Hey there, it's Mitch again. This is yet another video on layer blending modes. This time we're going to talk about the multiply layer blend. This is one of the few blending modes in Photoshop that corresponds to something in real life. The multiply layer blend works like sticking two copies of a slide in the same slot in your slide projector and projecting them at the same time. When you use the layer blending mode, everything other than pure white will darken. When you use a multiply blend, nearly all of the pixels in your photograph will darken. Photoshop does its typical shtick, works pixel by pixel, and then channel by channel for each of the pixels. The multiply blend has a very apt description. As the name suggests, the multiply blend actually involves multiplication. So let's jump to the math first, and then we'll come back for a demonstration of the multiply blend, and we'll talk about its practical application. So far, the math's been pretty simple. It's pretty basic for the multiply blending mode too. Active is the value of the active layer. Underlying is the value of what's visible underneath the active layer. Let's keep this example simple. Let's assume we have an RGB image, and let's assume it's in 8 bits per channel. That means each channel can take on values ranging from 0 to 255. Photoshop's going to do the comparison pixel by pixel, and for each pixel, separately channel by channel. The result of the blend is the active value times the underlying value divided by 255. Now to put some numbers on this, let's use a simple example. Let's assume that the pixel value for the active layer is mid-tone gray, 127 for all 3 channels. And let's also assume that the value for what's visible underneath is also mid-tone gray, 127 for all 3 channels. That makes our blending math very easy. We take 127, multiply it by 127, divide by 255. That gives us a result of 63.25. And if we round that off, we get a pixel value of 63. So we blended together 2 mid-tone gray values, each 127, and the result we get is 63, well down into the 3/4 tones, a much darker tonal value. Now that we've had a look at the math behind the multiply layer blend, let's take a look at it in operation. Go up here, we'll switch from normal blend to multiply blend, and we can see that the overall result is darker than it was previously. We can verify that by clicking this on and off. Pull the opacity up to 100%. And it'll be even more obvious. With a multiply blend, most of the pixels in our image wind up darkening at least a small amount. In fact, the only values that won't darken are pixel values of 255. So it'll be either pure white, which is 255, 255, 255, with RGB, or if we look at it channel by channel, then a red channel of 255, a green channel of 255, or a blue channel of 255 will remain unchanged. Any other value for those channels, and they're going to have to darken, at least somewhat. Probably the most popular practical utility for the multiply blend is to add detail to photographs that have been overexposed. Now I've got another sample photograph here. It's not drastically overexposed, but let's go ahead and let's apply a multiply blend to it. And before we do that, so that we can compare the before and after effects, I'm going to add a couple of color sample points. I'm going to add one here to the white, and I'm going to add one up here to the red. And in both cases, to make this easy, I'm going to set them to lab so we can watch the lightness values. And now let's go ahead, create a new layer, apply a multiply blend to this. Now as I toggle the layer on and off, you'll notice that the luminosity value for the white paint changes very little, while the luminosity on the red hat for the stick figure changes much more. Right now, for the white paint, the luminosity is at 90, and for the red hat, it's at 27. Go ahead, turn off our multiply blend. The luminosity for the white paint is 95, and the luminosity for the red hat is 46. So that's a difference between 95 and 90 for the white, and between 46 and 27 for the red hat. With the multiply blend, lighter pixels do darken, but not nearly as much as darker pixels. And before I close, don't forget you can always go up and you can adjust the opacity to attenuate the effect. Pull it back here to 50%. Now if you compare before and after, we now have 92 and 36. Compared with 95 and 46. Use your own artistic judgment as to how much of a blend to apply. I'm Glenn Mitchell from thelightsright.com. Cheers.